¿Esto más o no más? ¿Hay más? ¿Hay más? ¿O es todo?
On lungs, 8/4 of the barrel.
Ya te queda, ¿no?
Sí.
Ya me voy. Más que salga el señor que entraba.
¿Ha entrado a casa a dejar cosas?
Ahí dice, vamos.
Se consumió esta la conservadera, solamente llevaba 2 paquetes que tenía que dejar. Entonces se los está llevando. Y ahora que se quedó también vino con él. Ya. Hasta ahí dejó el vino.
¿Qué vino de dejado?
De lo que ha traído. Parece que el señor se confundió y dejó unas cosas, se lo está llevando por otra. Solamente ha dejado uno como nada más.
Oh,
Where is the invoice? Where is
Okay.
it? Are you signing?
Sí.
So what is that from? Right. So puede hacer lo que se puerta aquí.
Lo cierra. Lo cierra.
Sí. Ah, bueno, entonces aquí es.
No, pero ahí no tiene que ver.
No, no, ah, no. Okay. Good. I'll take it on the Okay. I'll be more than that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
What are they doing? Is that us outside? Or that's the extension?
No, I'm getting in trouble over this. Hi. Hello. So it was busy.
No, it's not. It's just the bullshit. They're taking out the toll booths.
The what?
They're taking out the toll booths for the Richmond San Rafael Bridge. It's the first one they're going to remove it from. So they reduced the speed out of Bridge 5. And everybody just stops. It's just because. But yeah, talking to traffic. You want me to bring up the QPC?
I have something here.
Oh, okay. That's it.
Are you in?
I'm in, but it's just taking a minute to load. But I got my 10K. What kind of pen is that?
Right?
Why do you like that one?
I don't know. We want to work with Apple, choosing Apple. And so that,
Dayforce is actually open for you?
yep. Right, so let's start the conversation. I mean, I think that you know where we stand on this. I wanna make sure that you understand that this is a two-way conversation. This ain't a verdict. This is something that I wanted to, you know, take in consideration, and I wanted to use this so we can move the needle and work in a better environment. I want to say that overall, the job satisfaction is something that worries me. You know, I knew that there were some work that we needed to do, but I wasn't, if I was to be asked, what would your job satisfaction be? I would say that it would be a good 7, you know, borderline 8. And I say that because I base it on the appreciation that you have when we have conversations, the appreciation that you bring up when I mentorship you, when we have these, you know, long conversations aside from our regular topics. So it kind of, you know, raise the flag and see, you know, what is that I'm doing wrong, you know, and what is that is needed for us to be better aligned. So that is my, you know, my open statement. I want to hear from you how do you want this conversation to be.
I mean, it's not, my satisfaction isn't from a lack of something I think that you were doing. I very much appreciate what you're doing, and like, that's why I have the job satisfaction, to be honest. It's kind of, I feel more where, I think there are times where I don't know where I belong, or what role I'm playing, or that I'm having to do multiple things and understanding that, but also not having that kind of ownership on, yeah, this is something I'm owning. And it's not about control thing, it's just, the message gets diluted. And it's like, did you read that, did you see that, did you respond, you know, instead of moving things along. And I think you work very independently, or have also for a long time, but also you are collaborative. It's not like you do everything by yourself, which is what I'm trying to emulate. And sometimes not sometimes, often, I don't feel like that's the case with one of the big provider being dynamics, right? It's that relationship is a big reason I satisfaction. And from when I wrote that till now, I think there's a change in my approach. I'm trying to change how, you know, not taking it personally, how I look at this differently, do something different that I haven't done before. But I think I have to also put up some certain milestones. Like, if we don't get here by this point, I can't keep putting energy towards it, you know. And you tell me often, like, you have to figure it out, and I know you're doing that because I have to, and it's for my betterment. But sometimes it makes me feel like I don't have any support.
Okay. So, I mean, what would be your ideal situation if, I mean, there is ways that we can handle things, and there's a perception of how things are supposed to be handled. So how is that you foresee me being more participant? And when you come with those scenarios and where you say things like, you know, how I handle this, what is your expectation of me, you know, doing for you? What do you want me to do different? Or what is your expectation of me on action?
Yeah, I think when it comes to having, you know, clear understanding also for certain things that we need this done by this date, that helps. So that goalpost is understood and I can keep track on that way. I'll own my parts of where I need to improve for sure. I think there are many. But you were asking me about the job satisfaction part and where, when I'm having a difficult time, you know, how do I feel I can bring that up in a safe way where I'm like, it's not just, okay, you've said your piece, now go figure out how we're gonna fix it. Because I'm clearly coming to you because I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to take a different approach. And it's not a one-time conversation. It's like, okay, how can we go to something? So with that, I think having escalation clearly defined, having, you know, a meeting where, or a tracking of where we are not hitting the mark and how we can improve the process. Like I know they brought on new personnel. I get there's a training period, but there was like this huge block, and there continues to be. I don't know how we're going to resolve that, and that worries me because like, how is it going to get any better if there's zero resolution there, you know? So I'm not trying to be involved in everything, but then understanding my accountability and where I fall in that, I think this quarter I want to define it better. Because like we took off volunteer, that's fine, cool, I agree, HR should own this. Let this step in their shit and see how it goes, because clearly he's having a time. But that needs to come off. And I need a better define where I'm leading this to. You know, is it just frontline? And that I have this thinking because service desk is totally separate and that's handled by somebody else.
So I want to be very direct with what I'm saying, and I want to make sure that this is a conversation with accountabilities. You know, we're talking about accountabilities and we're talking about expectations of services and who responsible for. So my expectation of services, you know, I'm responsible for the stuff that concerns the department at the high level. And you have seen me and I work with you on putting together frameworks on where you set up, you know, I always say to you, so start with your hero, you know, where is that you are trying to resolve? And the contrast that I'm trying to make to this is that I ask you for things multiple times. I ask you for the plan for the most, and the answers for you, I'm not going to say that they are completely dismissive, but they are not 100%. You don't make me feel 100% owner of that, right? Oh, well, I have this part, but I'm waiting on this other part, and then on the same token, you're telling me that how things are going to be moving forward, that we need to buy this, but you don't know if how to buy it, and we're talking about budgeting. So the reason that I'm bringing this up is, you know, from the outside, if I have to be pragmatic and see this objectively, right? I'm looking at a person that it has no organization and no true north from a project that it can handle, you know, it should be handled by you. So it's not that you are doing anything wrong, but what I'm trying to make sure that you understand is that you are asking everybody for standards that you don't apply to yourself. And that is fine. I don't want perfection. But I want movement, I want progress, I want to see that, okay, this is my roadblock, I either circumvent it to keep on going, or I go to my creativity gets me to someplace else. I know that you are capable of it. I know that you have, a lot of strength and determination when it comes to projects. But I feel sometimes that if it's not my way, or if it's not this way, or if they don't do this, you drop the ball and the passion fades. And I want to make sure that, we are in sync when it comes to this, because prompting me, and I said that to you, this is my problem, right? How many times we came and said, okay, in order for me to produce problems, I have to think about some solutions. And if dynamics is now giving me those solutions, then what I'm expecting from you is, but this is what I think about, right? This is how I see us going around. What do you think? Now we have a conversation. Now we're having, I'm not listening that, oh, I'm not doing my job because, somebody else failed me or somebody else didn't listen to me, right? And that's how we get the accountabilities done correctly, and the job satisfaction, in my belief, is going to improve, because you can only have control of what you can have control, right? But to the other point, if you don't really have the control or the visibility of what your true north is, that's what is going to create a chaos, because now, you are against the deadline. And there is this stress, unnecessary stress, that is eating you alive, because there is no, oh, I'm going to fail because I didn't put this in perspective. And also there's I'm going to also blame the situation or the circumstances on that note. I cannot, right? I cannot work on an environment where we are not accountable for our actions and our processes. I understand there are always going to be difficulties, right? There are always going to be difficulties. But now, because we have difficulties, we are all at the dark ball. And, I sense, that, or I know and experience that when we have these merged, collaborative, one-on-ones, and we're working on this and that, it's being told, you work perfectly. Yesterday, at funeral, oh, this is the way, this is the path, this is how we're doing it. You did everything great. When we came about the sensors and giving you the password, what the accesses are, and this and that sense of control, right, that I was giving you, that sense of, oh, okay, I don't have the pressure of me delivering something that I might not have clear understanding. I think that's what creates this snowball of, somebody has to answer me, somebody has to give me this peace of mind. And I don't think that they're always going to be those.
No. I mean, I think initially I was trying to do everything myself. I mean, like, you can't do this, right? I have to be able to delegate, I have to be able to do other stuff and managing people. So once you start to let some of that go, of course, the protection thing, you can't hold that same standard there. But what I get bogged down, I guess, in is some simple things where we work on something, we have a process, I'm trying to implement it, and there's like, I can't hold them accountable for it. And by that I mean dynamics. So the last festival, there's a great example. This was a certain standardization that we were supposed to have. and I have been working for 3+ months on trying to do this. Why is it supposed to be that? It shouldn't. This is a very simple tool, right? Like, it seems like such a small thing, and I shouldn't let that stop me. Because I gotta keep my eye on the bigger prize and see what it is that I'm really trying to accomplish. But that's like, I mean, it's like bullshit that bogs me down.
But that, I mean, that's very good, like a very good point. Because I asked you that. Are you not able to do this? And you say, I can do it, but they are supposed to be doing it, right? So, if I have to be delivering results, right? If I have to go about, seeing the finish line, why do you let that hold you back? I mean, how many times we did the things, and you saw me doing things, just to move the needle. And you know what? I have control over this. Let me just do it so I can deal with that later. And that becomes a topic of conversation in an alignment. But it doesn't become, as I saw that it is a contentious, situation where like, I'm not gonna do it because you have to do it. And then they say, but the process was this. And now we are in this, week after week after week, kissing match. Right? Because you want to stand your grounds, and they want to stand your grounds, or maybe they don't. Mike don't have those grounds. And then I can see that I have been sucked into it because now I have to be the referee of the kissing match and make a decision for somebody that either I make them unhappy or I make you unhappy. And that's not the place where I want to be.
But that's the point. That's not better management. This is like a very weird relationship.
But again,
and that's where I think it's because I don't have this issue with other countries, but maybe it's because they don't have the same level of involvement. Yeah, you have people who are not doing the things you ask them over and over. But then at some point you say this isn't working anymore, and you move on. But with this, that doesn't seem to happen. And so that's where I feel like, especially this year, I've seen a drop in accountability on their side. There's no team, not that he ever did anything in that way. I shouldn't say that, I don't need to do that words, but it was like, he just said the same thing over and over, and he felt frustrated. But he was a manager who was responsible for a team, and relaying a certain message and taking care of the team. I don't have that. And it's like, it's not a personal thing, it's not him individually, but seeing all the time and effort that went in working with Christian, and we're starting back at 0 again, because none of that was there. So that, I mean, it feels deflating because you're like going over this whole process again. But it's more because I can't hold anybody to it. So the response times, service desk expectations, where is that? Because these are questions that Alex is asking, and I have 0 answer for it. And that's an accountability for me. It's not the nitty-gritty part. It's that the bigger picture of, do we need to change these expectations? Or get the person to realize that this is the response now?
So, when we talk about this, and it surprised me that you let that go for this long, I recall when I put this vendor management tool and the budget management tool part of it, right? That you were to be looking at the budget of the car. That was for you to, look at the expenditures that I agreed upon and I budgeted from and I approved by, right? The store, this is how much. Yeah, and the manager, the management of the vendor, it wasn't the capacity that you were to manage your tickets, dispatch, and have the communications in between the three. You being the facilitator and the orchestrator. But I wanted to also be cognizant of the task, because the speed that we're giving it, right, is management of the vendor, right? I mean, in what manner do you think that you are going to be able to manage technology? Our vendor that he managed technology, when we agree that, let's say, your understanding of Intune or Entra is very rudimentary, very entry level.
I'm not surprised. And I'm not expecting myself to.
Okay.
But that's what the vendor is for, right? So in terms of, like, looking at PDT as an example, saying we have a project, this is the scope of the project, and understanding where their timeline is and how it fits into ours or what needs to be what we're with, right? I don't think it's perfect. It needs more work. Right now it's a verbal thing. We're getting there, right? It's a lot less moving pieces and dynamics.
But did you think that, I mean, let's present that example, because I want to understand, right, your perception of accomplishment, and I want to make sure that we are discerning and separating in between, this is a personal stuff that I have against this vendor, and this is not, right? Because, for instance, I see the walkthrough that you have done with UBC at Lowlands, right? The deliverables were completely missed. I still don't have the speakers. I still don't have the rack being moved. I still having issues. So when I hold accountable, GDC right now, they say, well, when Charlie did this, the perception was that we may or may not have a speaker here, or we may or may not. So, in the greatest scheme of things, what they're giving me is, we were never clear of what the scope of work was. When I asked for the scope of work, there was no one, right? There was no scope of work, which is fine. I don't really care about that.
No, I mean, that's what's gonna, you have to have that, that's the norm.
Yeah.
For any project. So I think, the past couple months, I go with my vacations and like time off, like that has messed things up. So I think, I don't mean to say like you were doing it separately, but you're trying to keep things moving, either while I wasn't there. Or when you're like, she can't handle this, I'm gonna just take care of it. So that got confusing to me, and things got dropped in a sense. So I think for moving forward like that, we have to have a document that it's like you can update things on there, and or I can do it when I come back, that we are looking at it and we're like, yeah, we did this, this, and this. So it's not that you're keeping me out of things. I know you're not doing it intentionally. It's just, hey, I forgot to tell you this and that, right? So like the speakers at World, I wanted them replaced where they were before. And so that's kind of what I said to them. Now, there were two above the bar and two on the other side, but there was one still there. But we said we're going to repair it in pairs. So I don't know where the confusion is on that. But then if Greg is asking me, we're saying we didn't know the location, like, we're playing phone tag. We should all have a meeting, or I have a recording one with him where I'm going over this, like we did with DC.
Yeah, I think that the point that I'm trying to make is that, in a sense, right, if I have to make a contrast with if this was to be a ticket, right? So Lolita speaker has been sitting there for 3 months. And I don't see the same amount of business, determination, and vocalization towards that Greg versus the other Greg. And maybe, and that is perception, right? You get along better with this Greg than this other Greg. This Greg doesn't push back, this other Greg push back. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that I don't want to do friends. I don't want to be friends with anybody. I just want to have one job done in a timely manner. If they do their job, if they don't, is for me to assess it, for me to put it in the aftermath of it. We did this project, you were supposed to be doing this percentage of the project, you failed at this percentage, and I have to pick it up. So now the conversation is, I made it happen.
Yeah.
How is that I can count on you? How is that we are going to avoid leaving that gap? But at the end of the day, I can now have a vendor that I'm going to have to babysit, right? The vendor is going to push back. It's like, you need to give me, a whole scope. And that is what I meant, or what I was envisioning when I said, this is your accountability of vendor management. Because I always wanted, right, that you were to manage them as, this is my project, this is the problem that we're seeing, this is my goal, this is my expectation of deliverables, and this is the expectation of who is going to be doing it. So I want to make sure that at the end of this, regardless of what we have in here, we have an agreement that is quantifiable, objective, and quantifiable, objective, and clear for everybody, right? So I want to make sure that the ship is turning, because I see myself, right, to your earliest point, having to deal with the same stuff at a different level, right? And if you tell me, well, I feel the pinch when I go and I need to figure out what is that, SPLH calculations are. They are financial terms, they are human resources terms, they're internal processes that I don't understand. There are marketing things that I don't understand. But I can shrug my shoulders and say, well, that is marketing, and I'm going to wait for them to do their stuff. Because if I do that, if I take that approach, then I fail. And it's not about me versus them, but it's the overall perception of the project, the overall impact on the brand, right? How as an organization we are going to succeed. We are trying to switch the mentality of being siloed and being for the better of the department, to be more open and to be striving for the better of the company overall. What can I do for every department, right? What can I do for the company? And sometimes, what do I need to stop doing so that the overall benefit for the company can be quantified, right? So with that in mind, I want to see you come up with, a different approach of how we're going to handle the projects moving forward. How is that we are going to get to cross the line without these many, continuous conversations? I know that you're very capable. That's the only reason why you're here. So I just want to make sure that we are clear on what the expectations are. At this point, at this stage of your career, I need to take the training wheels off and let that manager in you develop. I need you, and we had this conversation before, I need you to go to Yerba Buena, disconnect your temperature, and see what happens for you to be quantifying, the risk, to better prepare for that disconnection, to better see, not the theory of it, but the practice of it. right? So,
I really need to have, I mean, back to Jira, whatever way we can have a project tracker, you know, so these are quantifiable tasks that we are assigned to. I mean, even if I'm just doing this for myself internally and managing it, that way you can see. And I've been wanting to have dashboards, like, that's getting it down to the top. It's not impossible, I can do it, I just need to put my efforts towards that. We're gonna talk about doing this with assets, how we can get some type of dashboard together for accounting, so while we're, you know, issuing them out.
I don't want you to reinvent the wheel either.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want you to spend 3 weeks trying to make something pretty. I want to make sure that the mindset is shifted towards, let me give you a candidate, right? So, I would expect that if in your accountabilities we had, you know, onboarding and offboarding, that you came with the idea of having the app that I did, right? So me, in my, maybe, how you called me last, I mean, some time ago, whatever, in my not direct way of saying things, I was doing that, tell you, you know, I don't expect you to do that level of work, but I do expect you to have that level of creativity and vision of, you know, directed to problem solving, so we can just come with better solutions. And that can be polished, and then can be like, all right, now, as part of our development, what about if I, you know, want to do this and make it so it is quantifiable and tangible? And then, hey, we can make it a project. We can hire somebody, right? Or you can ask, what kind of tools do you think I need for this? Or what kind of talent do I need to seek for this? Now it's a different conversation, right? It's not about which software we're going to select and how we're going to select it and who we're going to be forwarded to. It's a matter of this is understanding what the pain point is and be creative enough and say this is how I want to solve it. Right? So just recap, right? So on one end, get the needle moving forward. Don't get stuck, don't get bogged down by what reg or what dynamics or what a scene used to do with the data group. If you ask for that once, you ask for that twice, and that is being a roadblock, circumvent, put it for the postmark, put it so we can make a note of that and come to an agreement, right?
So something came up, I mean, I feel like we talked about it, but we'll just come back to it. I have a lot of thoughts about how to do it well. I think we also accommodated something that was not expected, and I think we did a decent job on that, considering. So, but in that project, I think over there, how I can't circumvent, right? I needed somebody else to be doing technical work in the background that I am not capable of doing. So how, in those kind of situations, that's why if you look when these stores rolled out, we had tickets trailing for like a month after.
So let me say it this way, right? So if you were to be in this kitchen, right? And if you were to be in this kitchen, and the kitchen does not have meat on it, You cannot make it perfect. But you can say, I'm going to start toasting the bread, bringing the sauce, bringing the tomatoes and everything else. So I'm giving you time for you to bring the meat. Right? I cannot just say, I'm not going to make a sandwich because there is no meat.
So I feel like that's what I did in that situation. But maybe it took me too personally that I didn't do the way it should have. And I feel like that's reflection on my ability to make it. You know what I'm saying?
But we're landing in the same place, right? That we're letting our emotions lead the project, and that shouldn't be the case, because we need to run every project objectively. That's what I was telling you about, you know, the difference between GAC and dynamics. How you're more permissive, how you're more understanding of them dropping the ball for so long, and less forgiving and more harsh on the dynamics when they are doing the same, right? So that's what I wanted to point out, right? And there is no, I was hoping that you understand that there is no analysis of me, you know, letting you do it. If anything, right, what I'm trying to do there is to remove that whole sense of security of me being behind you. It's me letting you know that you are capable of doing it without me being there. So sometimes we have to ask ourselves questions, right? That I'm beating myself up for something that does not exist. Or do I, you know, try to see the different angle that it comes with it? Right. There are things that we need to do, right? There is stuff that we have to accept, and accepting those things come from being vulnerable with each other, right? But feeling like you cannot trust them, or feeling like somebody's in there to hit you. That ain't gonna be a good sense of people. You agree with that?
But I mean, I think that one thing is strong enough. Like, that's the thing, when it comes to, they're probably most people that are, to be honest. And I think it's not just things that are imaginary or rational. There have been instances that happen. I never told you, I don't think, when Christian came, like, proposed things that I was just like, dude, this is a professional relationship. But this is totally different. And I still have to work with him, you know? There are times that Brett said things to me that are like, I would never accept that from somebody else. But I still have to work with him. And that's the thing with life. Of course, there's going to be people who don't want to work with. But it's hard for me to feel like I need to be accountable